G'day, I'm Paul. If the BMW X5 is a little bit too sporty and the Audi Q7 is a little bit too Audi, maybe the Mercedes-Benz GLE is the answer, especially this one here. This is the new 6-cylinder version. It's called the GLE450 and it starts off life just under $120,000. But this one here has about $23,000 worth of options on it. I know, there's a lot there, but most of those you don't actually need. This car competes with cars like the Audi Q7, the BMW X5, the Lexus RX. It's those big SUVs that have occasional use 7 seats. Today we're going to do a detailed review of the GLE450. If you are impatient and you want to jump ahead to other parts of this review, you can use the time codes on the screen. Or if you're on YouTube, just use the chapters below. If you haven't done so already, I'd love it if you could hit subscribe and also press the bell icon. That's going to tell you every single time we publish a new review. Let's talk about the exterior. You've got 10 colours to choose from. All but this base white is $2,100. Seems like an incredible amount of money if you just don't want to have white. Now this also weighs just under 2,500 kilos because of all the mild hybrid equipment under the bonnet and under the skin. I'll run you through that in a bit more detail later on, but as well, 0.29 coefficient of drag, which is really impressive for an SUV. Let's have a look at some of this styling. The only thing that's missing from this front end, I think, is a Mercedes-Benz emblem. They could have fit it. Oh no, there it is. It's this giant dinner plate. In fact, I do have a plate at home that's around that size. That is incredibly big. Then followed up by another one here. But just by looking at this from a distance, this car craves oxygen to keep cool. And that may be true for the upcoming GLE63, but have a look around here. All of this is completely blanked. The only sections that are open are down here in this entire section behind the dinner plate. I do like some of these highlights. That's like a brushed plastic coupled with chrome. Really looks nice against the black and then the white trim there on the bonnet. Have a look at these headlights. Full LED multi-beam headlights with LED daytime running lights. The indicators built into there as well. This is an impressive light combination. It gives you lots of good visibility at night time. Comes with an auto high beam feature as well that can go around the cars oncoming or the cars in front of you. Now, interesting fact, this car here has the 7-seat package. Normally there is a space saver spare tyre in the boot, but because of the 7 seats, they have to fit these beefier run flat tyres. So by putting these 20-inch wheels and run flat tyres in, it firms up the ride. So the standard coil spring setup isn't very good. You can get optional air suspension, which this car has, which is an extra $3,000. So I'll be keen to see whether all of that package for the suspension actually makes this car ride well on these really firm run flat tyres. Okay, come around to the side, you can see a camera built into there and on the front as well. That's for the 360-degree camera. Side steps here. They're pretty sturdy. You can delete those as a no-cost option as well if you don't like the look of them. Roof rails, privacy glass, and then come around to the back. The back is really nicely resolved. Have a look at these LED taillights, the indicators built into there. For Maric, which is all-wheel drive for Mercedes-Benz, and then the GLE450 badge. I really quite like the look of this car. It's quite wide, sort of hunkered down, and those flared wheel arches just give it quite an aggressive look on the road. It is quite purposeful, and I think that when you follow this car, you know that it means business. Also, I've just noticed this. That is clearly meant to be an exhaust. It's completely blocked off. How stupid. So we're inside the GLE now. I think this looks absolutely sensational. So Mercedes-Benz, obviously a German brand, but this car is built in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So it's no longer built in Germany. So you know I love my tech. 2 giant screens in front of me and not a bit of piano black in sight. Instead, there's this open pore wood across the entire dashboard and then this garage door across the cubby holder. It all looks very, very high end, and the way they've just laid all of this out makes it feel like an S-Class as opposed to, I guess, what is an entry-level family SUV with a Mercedes-Benz badge. Even details like these air vents. There's that knurling on those vents there as well. And then the seats, they are Artico. That's fake leather in Mercedes-Benz Torque. That's standard across the range. Now, something we do for a bit of fun. Only motoring journalists care how soft touch a soft touch material is, but this is a Mercedes-Benz. I expect this to be good. So we have a hardness tester. This measures from 0 to 100, where 0 is soft and 100 is hard. So let's try that dashboard. That's impressive. That's really nice and soft. And what about this center console lid? Is that a crack? That is damn impressive too. What about the build quality? Built in the USA, is it better than built in Germany? Look, it all actually feels really nice and solid, but I did notice up here, a little bit wavy across that speaker. It's not a big deal, but you know, it'd be nice if that was a little more flush. Let's talk infotainment. If you do want to see a detailed review of the infotainment system in this car, this is called MBUX, the Mercedes-Benz User Experience. Click up here. Today I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the infotainment system, the screen ahead of the driver, and we'll also have a quick look at the heads-up display. So it consists of two 12.3-inch screens that take up the entire dashboard, and to me these look really nice and elegant. Really brings a depth of technology to this car. So let's have a look at how you control it. So you control the infotainment system using this trackpad down here. It's a touch screen as well, so you can use your fingers, or on the left-hand side of the steering wheel, you can also scroll through the different menus. In the phone menu, obviously with Bluetooth connected, you can talk to the car and tell it what to do using Hey Mercedes, and you can reach that as well by clicking up here. You can tell the car to do virtually anything there, and just as an example, I'll show you how this works. Close moonroof.
I'm closing the roller sun blind on the sliding sunroof.
There it goes. So lots of really good functions there that you can use just with voice recognition alone. Over in the navigation menu, you get the full screen map with traffic built in as well. Then when you do want to enter a destination, you can use points of interest or simply write them in using the trackpad here, or just use voice recognition. Over on the radio menu, you have AM, FM, DAB plus digital radio, plus the ability to stream from your phone or connected services. Same story with media. You can store music on the internal hard drive or simply stream it from your connected device. In the comfort menu, this is where you can change some of the lighting around the cabin. So built into here, it's a little hard to see now during the daylight, you have all of these LED lights that run around the car, and then in there you can change the color. You can have them automatically change color depending on what your temperature settings are, and then they can vary while you drive. You can also adjust the intensity of them in zones as well. So if you want it brighter up the top but not as bright down below, you just make those changes, which is a really good setup. In terms of seat comfort, you can also adjust where the seat heating takes place. I love the depth of customizability here. If we jump over to the info menu, this is where you're going to find a lot of details about the car, so you can see how much power and torque you're making. Over in the vehicle menu, if you are driving off-road or you want to see what the suspension is doing, everything is displayed here while the car moves, and then you have an owner's manual built into the screen as well. If you're ever unsure of anything, this dials everything up and gives you a graphical display of functions. So you can see here a quick start for lights and windscreen wipers, shows you how everything works. You have Mercedes Me, which is the connected services. It allows the car to talk to the cloud and also for you to use your phone to interact with the car. There's also Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but keep in mind you're going to have to use a cable when connecting it up. And then finally, the car's settings. What I like here as well is that every setting has its own little graphic. So as you go through all the settings to change things around, it will show you exactly what you're looking at. Ahead of the driver is another 12.3-inch display, and you can change all of these settings using the right-hand side toggles. So as you move through, you can adjust what you're seeing on the screen there. You can also adjust the style of the display. So if we jump over here, we can make it sporty if we want, which kind of just changes the color of the dials. Or you can go progressive, which brings you into the 21st century with a slightly more progressive design. And then ahead of the driver is what is probably the world's biggest heads-up display. It is just a huge screen there with a stack of different settings that you can customize and move around. For me, it's probably a little bit too big. I like how BMW allows you to condense that screen so it's not in the way. For me, that's sort of sitting directly in the line of traffic, but I prefer to have it there so I know if I'm going to break the speed limit. Let's talk about the other features you get with the GLE450. You have automatic dual zone climate control, auto dimming rear vision mirror and side mirrors. You have radar cruise control with a self-steering function. This car has wireless phone charging plus a sunroof, but that's part of the Vision package, which also adds in a 13-speaker Burmester sound system. It is disappointing that the wireless phone charging doesn't come standard. You also have heated seats for the front row, a 360-degree camera with front and rear parking sensors, but the camera is sensational. So it actually gives you a really clear view of what's going on around you, and there's different views to choose from as well. So every single angle of the car is catered for. That's really impressive. On the safety front, you have low and high speed autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection. Plus, the car has the ability to stop if a car comes through a side street. So in the event that someone goes through a red light or a stop sign, the car will be able to pull up for you. And what does the key look like? Well, let me show you. This is what the front looks like, a little bit of chrome down the bottom there. Mercedes-Benz badge, lock, unlock, boot. And then on the other side, it's just blank with that piano black stuff that's already scratching. It is a proximity sensing key, so you just keep that in your pocket, grab the door handle, and then there's a push button start. Let's talk practicality. You're going to be using this car for your family. So where are you going to store your things? talk phone first. So with the optional wireless phone charger, it sits down the front there, or you can just use the cup holders. But what about bottle storage? So you can pop your bottle down here and there are teeth there to adjust it. But there is a cool feature here. If you are American and you have giant 70-litre bottles of juice, you can pull this out of the way so that you can fit massive bottles in there. And then these two buttons here, snap it back closed. The door bins, they are gigantic, so you can fit bottles and, I don't know, a baby or another passenger if you want. They're huge, and you've got either side there to fit, I don't know, other stuff like plates and kitchen utensils. In here, we have a center console that is decent size. You've got a USB-C port in there and then another two up the front, and then you have a glove box too. That's reasonably sized as well. I don't mind that. Some netting over here, and if you have a pair of sunglasses, you can whack them in there. Now check this out as well. You have a normal sun visor with a vanity mirror, and then if you wipe that over to the side to block that vision, you then have a second one here just in case the sun moves around. So it's pretty clever technology. What about comfort? Yeah, these seats are nice. All the controls for the seats are here on the door, which is typical Mercedes-Benz style, but the seat memory is optional, so they all sit blank. But it's a really nice seat to be in, and the steering wheel feels great as well. I love that sort of thin wheel, and I don't know, it just looks nice and elegant. So we're in the second row. What is accommodation like here? Check this out. I have my seat pretty far back, and I've got tons of knee room. Toe room's not too bad. It's a little bit cramped if I stick my sort of feet under there, but for the most part, this is actually really spacious. Map pockets in the back of the seats. This little tray folds out with enough room there for your phone, and you can tuck it away. Two USB-C ports there as well, and we have center armrest, but have a listen to that. The bottom of that is catching on the plastic, and I think eventually that's going to break, so that's not good. But in there you have storage on a carpeted floor for bits and pieces, and then cup holders are built into the front here. So look at that, pretty technical looking cup holder. Close that, and then in the door you've got room for a giant bottle plus a couple of other bits and pieces. Now, being a 3-row car, this comes with electrically adjustable seats. So using this on the door here, you can move that forwards and backwards, and then you can also tilt this forwards and backwards, and finally adjust the headrest there as well. Then on top of that, you have ISOFIX points on the two outboard seats, and these fold in a 40-20-40 split folding manner. So this car is a 7-seater. How do you actually get in? So when you do option the 3rd row package with the GLE, they remove the manually adjustable seats and they become electric. That includes access to the 3rd row. So by flicking the switch on top of the seat, the whole row starts moving forward. So you can see it there, it comes forward and then it lifts up slightly. Takes a little while though. Still going, and finally there. So this is predominantly a space for kids, but I'm going to see what it's like for an adult to fit in there. Let's give this a shot. Okay. So we're seated in the back. I'm going to lift this ever so slightly. So I've got enough room back here. I've got a bottle holder in the center there, 2 USB-C ports. But what is the accommodation actually like? So I'm going to pull this down now. Let's see how I fit. Down it comes in a leisurely fashion. What it does is it locks this seat a little further forward so you still have enough room. So there you go. I've got minimal knee room. Toe room's virtually non-existent, and if you look down the front there, you can see that is where the seat was before when I was in the 2nd row with all that leg room, but that is how much leg room you have when there is an occupant in the 3rd row. So yeah, look, it is going to be a kids-only zone, but there is enough room to fit an adult here if you need to. I don't have a great deal of headroom there either, but plenty of room to the side, and I would be okay sitting here if I had to. Let's have a look at the boot. It all kicks off with a powered tailgate. One push of that cracks it open. And then on the tailgate itself, you've got 2 buttons as well. One here to start and stop, and it also a memory function, and then a lock button. So one push of that, it closes and then locks on the way out. So this is how much space you have behind the 3rd row. Not a great deal. And I'm going to show you here what that actually looks like when we try and fit our luggage in. You can see there that that's not going to fit. That will just get chopped in half. So pop that out of the way. The 3rd row isn't electric, so you have to manually put it down, and you do that by throwing these down. And then once you've done that, you have up to 820 litres of cargo space here. The further forward the second row is, the more space you have. If you do pull it backwards, that drops to around 600 and something litres. But the clever thing here is you can drop the second row from inside the car. There's also a button to lower the rear end of the car to make loading luggage easier. First up, you have this for the left-hand side. Give that a little nudge and that will start folding out of the way. And away it goes. And you can do the same on the right-hand side at the same time. Takes a little while. It would be handy if you could just do this manually, but it's all electric. Once it finally goes down, you have a little over 2,000 litres of cargo space here, which is good. Under the floor, you have storage for the cargo blind. This doesn't have a spare tyre, remember, because it is a 7-seat setup, which is why you have this extra space. You have a 12-volt outlet, a light on the other side, plus all your guides for the cargo blind. Let's see what this looks like once our bags are in. There we go, stacks of room. So, big space for a big family. So we're behind the wheel of the GLE450 now. Let's run through the engine, because this is probably the most impressive part of this car and why you should pick this over some of the entry-level models. It's a 3-litre twin turbocharged inline 6-cylinder petrol engine. It makes 270 kilowatts of power, 500 newton meters of torque. But the good thing is, because it's a mild hybrid, it makes an additional 16 kilowatts of power and 250 newton meters of torque thanks to that 48-volt mild hybrid system. That means it will do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in just 5.7 seconds, and this is what that looks like. Now, in terms of efficiency, this whole package consumes a combined 9.1 litres per 100 kilometres. It's a pretty good fuel economy figure when you consider that it is quite a lumbering mass, but in practice, it's actually closer to 12 litres per 100 kilometres. So still not terrible when you consider that it is a punchy 6-cylinder turbocharged engine, but still not quite amazing. So I mentioned in the intro that this car has a system called e-active body control. It's like a $13,000 option. Seems like a lot of money. You have to option that in addition to the air suspension, and it uses that 48-volt mild hybrid system. Let's see what it's like in comfort mode to start with. Comfort mode is exactly what it says on the box. It is comfortable. This car obviously feels like it's tuned for the US market because it is floaty and just very relaxed in terms of the way it drives, but that's good. If you've got a family in here and you just want to get the job done and be in comfort, this ticks all of those boxes. So we flick the switch now over to Sport. There's 2 sport settings, Sport and Sport Plus. Then there's an individual setting as well. So if you want to customize some of those settings, let's flick it over to Sport Plus. So immediately I can feel the ride is getting much firmer. The gearbox has gone all aggressive. That 9-speed automatic is doing all sorts of things on me now, holding gears. The steering feels heavier as well. And it feels really nice and punchy. As you kick that throttle, you can feel that mild hybrid system giving you the push in the back in addition to the internal combustion engine. It actually feels really good. And in terms of handling, it's sitting pretty much dead flat through corners thanks to that suspension. That is really impressive stuff. Such a big SUV. Okay, now for the interesting one, curve mode. This seriously blows my mind. We're going around a corner here. As I tip into the corner, that side of the car is lifting for a right-hand turn. It is so weird. So the whole purpose of it is that when you go around a corner normally, you have that weight transfer and the car sort of tips in. They try and circumvent that by lifting the side of the car that would normally tip in to keep it dead flat. But there's an interesting mechanism that does this, and it's part of that mild hybrid system. You've probably heard that name a lot of times, but don't actually know what it is. So let me explain it in a bit more detail. So we're going to get a little bit technical here. If you don't want to listen to me explain stuff and see a little formula, skip ahead. But what is mild hybrid technology? Mild hybrid is something that's being used in a lot of modern cars today. And it's quite simple, but very effective. Cars used to run on a 12-volt system. So it was a battery that sat under the bonnet and it serviced all the components of the car and allowed systems to run while the car was off. Now though, with high-tech systems that require much more power, you've got suspension systems like the one in this car, the ability for cars to switch off at higher speeds, but they all need more power. So how do you overcome that? Well, you need a higher voltage system in the car. So the engineers came up with a 48-volt system to run these high-tech components. Now, remember Ohm's law, power equals volts times amps. That means if you need more power to run these systems, you can either increase voltage or current. If you increase current, it means you need thicker cables, and that means more weight added to the car. But if you increase voltage, you still get more power, but you don't need those bigger cables. And that's what the engineers did. They came up with a 48 volt system that's in use across a lot of modern cars today, and it allows a lot of these high-tech systems to work while the car is switched off. So this car's able to coast at 100 kilometers an hour, but still maintain all of its climate control systems and all of the critical systems it still needs to operate without sapping energy from the car. Then on top of that, there's a small battery system that's powered by a motor generator attached to this engine that charges a small battery and gives this car a power boost whenever it needs it. Okay, that brings me to the off-road mode. This is seriously cool. You've probably seen this on the internet before, but I'm going to run you through it anyway. So we pop the car into off-road mode by using our little drive mode switch here. It goes into off-road mode, the suspension starts going up, but then it has a special feature that allows the car to get free from mud or sand when it's stuck, and you can do that by adjusting the pressure on each tyre. The easiest way to do that is to adjust the weight on the tyre. So with this in drive, we enter the free driving mode. And watch this, it starts making the car bounce slowly at first, and then it picks up pace. This is ridiculous. So it's bouncing around right now. It actually feels like it's about to leave the ground. I'm going to hold on here. So the whole purpose of this is to free the car from any mud rut or any sandy environment it's stuck in. It is hilarious. I'll stop that right now. You then have an additional mode that allows you to control the height of each individual wheel. So right now what I'll do is control the front left wheel. We can raise that individually and then drop it down individually as well, so the whole car tips down. This technology is unheard of, and it's only capable because of that 48 volt system. A 12 volt system wouldn't provide enough power or enough current to make the car do exactly what it's doing now. So that is mild hybrid, and that is why it is such an important feature to have in modern cars. One of the most impressive things about this car is actually how quiet it is. So that 48 volt system allows the vehicle to switch on and off all the time, but it's not like a traditional start-stop system where you can actually feel everything working. This is entirely imperceptible, so it will switch on and off without you even realizing. It is such a good system. The turning circle is 12 meters, which is fairly reasonable. Towing capacity standard is 2,700 kilos. So if you do get a tow bar set up later, that's all you can tow with a downbore weight of just 280 kilos. But if you do order the tow package from Mercedes-Benz from the factory, it increases the towing capacity to 3,500 kilograms. And that means you're going to get that extra towing capacity, but there's no increase in downbore weight. What about visibility? Well, despite the fact the car is quite large, visibility out the front is really good. It's only hindered a little bit by that head-up display. I really would like to be able to shrink that somehow or shift it out of the way. I think it is just my setting position. I'm quite low here. Out the sides, it's great. The wing mirrors are big enough and I can clearly see down the sides of the car. There's a blind spot monitor built into there too. And then visibility out the rear is okay. It's not amazing. That window is quite narrow. And then if you've got passengers in the second row and even the third row, it's going to be quite difficult to see out the back. But outside of that, the car's easy to maneuver in and around the city. The steering's light enough, and there's a semi-autonomous parking feature as well if you're not too confident parking. So the Mercedes-Benz GLE, I love the fact that they haven't made each step grade a change in spec. Each spec is the exact same. All you're getting is a change in the engine. And that just means you just pick whichever engine you want, and this is the one I think you should be going for. The 6-cylinder is so damn smooth, and the mild hybrid system is unobtrusive, so you don't feel it working. It doesn't hinder the way that it does anything. The interior looks absolutely spectacular, and then on top of that, you've got 7 seats, or the practicality of it. Yes, you're not going to fit adults back there, but you've got 7 seats in case you need it. So let me know in the comments below, did you buy one of these? What are you loving or hating about it? I always love to hear back from people that have spent their hard-earned money on the cars that we're reviewing. And if you did enjoy this video, please hit the like button, follow it up with the subscribe, and make sure you press the bell icon, because that's going to tell you every single time I'm impressed by an SUV that I shouldn't like. Until next time, see you later.